to talk a little bit, not so much about NACDA, but the concepts and principles that drive NACDA, what we want to see other people be able to do, and we want to encourage other people to do. It's a brief overview. Data and research tools that facilitate the sharing of aging data, and we do it without reference to affiliation or location. We're a universal resource. And we argue that to successfully achieve data sharing, you need to address three basic goals. You need to provide numerous data sets in a standard format that are easily available to the research community. You need to provide tools that encourage research and the education of researchers. And you provide outreach and open access to both data and tools. From a social science perspective, we like to suggest that using secondary data is a very useful resource. There is a lot to be said for primary data collection, but if you're able to use secondary data, you get certain benefits. Efficiency is a main one. Good secondary data should come in a format that facilitates research. In other words, if you're going to share data, it should come in a manner that makes it easy for people not familiar with your data sets to use it. Variety. At the present time, there's so much data out in the research universe that you can answer almost any question, at least in a preliminary sense, using secondary data. Test theories, test hypotheses, and then, if you don't find the exact data set, continue to primary data. But theory testing is a big part of what we do. Secondary data allows for the controlled testing of research frameworks in a manner that allows for replication. If you can do a study using a secondary data and come up with results, someone else should be able to replicate your research using that same data set. And that's a very valuable tool in the social sciences and sciences in general. Generalizability is also another issue. Many primary data sets are small sample size or specific to communities or small areas. Much of the secondary data sets that are available publicly, particularly things contained at NACDA, are generalizable to a larger population. So it allows you to talk about population effects and speak more broadly about the impacts of health, of economics, of support systems, things of that nature. So secondary data is very much a public good. There's anywhere of a number of places, regardless of where you are, where you can get data. Federal resources, most governments will at least sell you their data, if not give it away for free. University, your university may be a rich and untapped resource for research data. It's often amazing to find out what is available at a local university in their government documents rooms, in their research areas, the sociology department, various places. You have to ask, you have to look, but quite often you can find very useful things. And data archives. Professor Ishida gave a very nice presentation on the number of data archives available in Japan and the kind of data, and also on the international organizations that support data archives and data sharings. So I think it's quite clear that data archives can be a primary source of secondary data. The National Archive of Computerized Data on Aging, NACDA, my organization, is one such group. We're going to touch on the three key issues briefly. So the first issue, provide numerous data sets in standard formats. Make them easily available to the research community. The little blind man touching the elephant joke, never mind. NACDA is an archive that's been in existence for well over 30 years. We are the aging arm of ICPSR, the Inter-University Consortium for Political and Social Research, which has been collecting and sharing data publicly for well over 50 years now. We specialize in the aging aspect of ICPSR. There are other components of ICPSR which we may touch on briefly, but we focus on aging. We have expertise in aging, we actively seek out data sets on aging, and we support aging research. We have currently about 1,600 plus studies that touch on the aged or the aging life course. All of these data sets are publicly available to anyone in the world. They can be downloaded from the NACDA website by anyone, regardless of what their university affiliation is, what their governmental affiliation is, where they're located. If you have a computer, you can download our data. We add 30 to 50 new studies to our collections each year, depending on funding and data sharing by other people. Some of the studies we have that are available right now, the SAGE study, which is a very nice WHO study of global aging, a harmonized study that offers considerable insight into multinational aging. That was discussed also earlier today by the Global Aging Project. The Chinese Healthy Longitudinal Survey, the CES-D study, which looks at the interactions of social environment and biomarkers in Taiwan, the PAHO study, SABE, which looked at health and well-being in Latin America, multiple waves of the Australian longitudinal study, and the Swedish twins dementia study. We've added numerous studies since then, but this is just a quick overview of some of the studies we have. We also maintain an extensive collection of metadata, which is data about data, descriptive information about research data. And this includes survey questionnaires and research methodology documents that we encourage people to look at if they're interested in developing their own studies. Again, you can use our resources to do secondary analysis, to look at questions, to see if things are worth pursuing. But then if you want to do a primary study, then we recommend you look at some of the questionnaires and see the vetted and validated questions that have already been tested by other research institutions. Quite recently, the Institute for Social Research, where ICPSR is located, did a study of Pacific Islanders in California where they used the National Health Interview Survey as their foundation instrument. And now they can look at this very small understudied population and their health characteristics and compare it directly to national level statistics of health. This is a very powerful tool, and it's one that should be taken advantage of. The second issue, provide tools that encourage research and the education of researchers. Again, not only do we want to be publishing papers and learning new things, we want to make sure that the next generation of scholars are able to learn from us and to use these same tools. And NACDA and ICPSR have been committed to this. We have any one of a number of search tools to find data. The NACDA webpage is really the starting point for most things. You go to the webpage and there's search fields. You can search for specific studies. In this case, if you know the name of your study, MIDAS here, or you can also search for variables. We'll touch on the variable search in a moment. But if we know the name of the study, we just put it in there. And it immediately pulls up the study search results. So we were looking for the MIDAS study, which is a midlife study based in the United States, but has also collected data in Japan. So it pulls up the main study, which is MIDAS 2, but we also tell you there's 10 more results in this series. And if you click on the 10 more results, it'll take you to another field. It'll tell you those 10 studies. So you can see the studies in this series. You can also use filters. So if you're interested in looking at all the studies from Carol Roof, who is the PI of MIDAS, you can do that. Or you can look at the different places where MIDAS has touched base. We've got studies that are US based. We've got a Chicago sub-study, Japanese study, Illinois study, et cetera. So you can use the search engine to look for a specific study and then drill down from there. You can also use the Thesaurus function to look for themes. And this groups data sets by specific themes in a thesaurus. So in this case, if you were interested in Alzheimer's disease, you would go to the thesaurus, find Alzheimer's disease, and you can click on that. It also gives you the opportunity to drill down from there. Look at broader terms. You can go up, dementia, disease. You can go down or look at related terms. You can use the thesaurus to find broad themes or very specific themes for related data. If indeed you go just for Alzheimer's disease, then it'll find the studies that have Alzheimer's disease as their primary theme. We at this time about 5 studies that specifically deal with Alzheimer's. It's something we'd like to see more data on, but we do have some. You can also search specifically for variables. In this case, you could search for variables within a study. So looking within the survey of midlife development in Japan, MIDJA, which is one study we missed, you can look for depression variables in the Japanese MIDAS. So you would type in depression or whatever term you were interested in the search for variables, and it would pull up the variables that deal with depression within that specific study. In this case, it found 3 results. And if you're interested in seeing the specific variable, anxiety, depression, past 30 days, you would click on that link, and it would give you the variable distribution. Not surprisingly, the skip pattern finds that about 88% of the population did not report any anxiety at all. But among those that did, you can see if there's enough cases for it to be useful for your analysis purposes. Similarly, you can look across studies. So you can look across the entire ICPSR and NACDA collection. Here, depression across NACDA finds 2,435 different variables across studies that look at different depression measures. From there, you might want to filter this down into slightly more reasonable number of variables. You can filter, again, by a series. You can look at hospitalization data. You can look at the health interview survey, national ambulatory care, et cetera. You can filter by specific studies. If you're looking for a specific study, we would list them all. You could filter by a time period. If you're only interested in depression between 2000 and 2009, you would click on that. If you were interested in 1960 through 1969, you would click on that. You could also filter by geography. So you have a number of ways of narrowing down very broad results, such as depression, into a manageable set of variables. You can also get more granular. Instead of looking at depression, you can look at a depression scale, CES-D, for example. And it will pull up the different variables that either provide a summary measure or are constructed for that particular variable. And again, you can filter. So if you were interested in the specific studies that use the CES-D, click on Filter by Study, and it would give you the list of studies and the variables, the number of variables that touch on that specific characteristic. And you can do this for any variable: depression, prejudice, ALDs, etc. So it's quite a powerful tool. So if you were looking for ADLs, activities of daily living, we've got 763 independent. So again, what studies ask questions on ADLs? Well, again, you go through there, and then you can, each one of these will link you to the variables within the study that address these specific topics. So you can move very rapidly through a lot of data. And this is one of the important things, that there's so much data out there these days, the ability to move rapidly through large bodies of information and zero in on results or information that's valuable to the specific research question you're asking is essential. And this is one of the goals that we have set for ourselves, to improve the ability to find information quickly. You can also do online analysis for most of these studies. This is just an example of a crosstab. But you can do crosstabs, you can do ANOVA, you can do logistic, probit, and OLS regression online. And while this is not important to many well-funded or well-infrastructured universities, for places that have less infrastructure, the ability to use these kinds of tools both for research and teaching. This uses the computer power at the University of Michigan. And anyone with a computer connection, anyone with a wireless or hardwired connection can use this tool to do analysis. So it provides equity. It provides very much open access. You don't have to be able to afford a SaaS license or to be able to buy Stata. You can come and do at least preliminary analysis using our systems, and you're most welcome to do so. Also, important tool, bibliography and literature review, both to see what other people have done using the data and to make sure that you haven't already been scooped, which is a not uncommon problem for most researchers, to have a brilliant idea and then look through the literature and discover that someone else has already written the article that you were planning to write. We provide as thorough a bibliography, and we all know this is an ongoing process. We have librarians at ICPSR who do nothing but read articles all day long, looking for the data sets that are included in articles. Because this, unlike a lot of bibliographies, this is key to the data set. If you go to a specific data set, this will try and tell you a fairly thorough listing of the publications that have used this specific data set in their analysis. So you can see how a data set can be used for research. And if you have access to JSTOR or the appropriate information, you can download the article directly. The third, outreach and open access to information, the final issue, probably the most important one. We provide a number of training and educational programs to help people better use the data. The summer program in quantitative research methods, this has been going on for decades. And every summer we have teachers who come in and teach the most sophisticated and the most basic courses in using secondary data. We have typically anywhere from 800 to 1,000 students who come through the summer program between early June and the end of August. So it's a very active, very vibrant program, and we recommend that anyone who's interested recommend their students or come themselves if you want a refresher on things. We also offer the Online Learning Center, which offers teaching modules using real data sets. So you can, in the classroom, show how to do specific kinds of analysis, specific kinds of learning events using statistics, using research data. We have online webinars. This is a growing tool where we present webinars and then store them and provide them to researchers on a variety of topics, about the archives, about specific data issues, about specific analysis programs, quite a variety of things. We have a YouTube page, and this is where the webinars and the presentations end up. And this is, again, openly available. If you're interested, go to the ICPSR YouTube. You can learn about the different archives, the different things we're doing. Again, it's a growing resource. NACDA itself is freely available to anyone. If you have internet access, you can obtain and use NACDA data for your research interest. It's an international resource. It's open to all members of the research community everywhere. Anyone can use it. I don't care where you're located. If you can get to a computer, you can use our data, and we welcome you. We're open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We welcome you to use our data. We welcome you to share your data with other people. We also encourage you to build NACDAs on your own. I would love to see a NACDA or an ICPSR in every country. The Tokyo Center is a perfect example of the kind of quality information that can be shared to encourage learning. We are happy to work with you about this. If you're interested in building an archive, if you're interested in working with us in expanding the use of data that you have, we love those conversations. Come visit us at our website. Just Google NACDA aging and you will find us. And I thank you so much for your time.